All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. We've got a special one-off demo night experience today with three from the UniDays Student Accelerator program. So hello, Kane. Hello, Nate. Hello, Helen. Great to have you here.
Hello.
All right, and just
Hello.
before we get started with the main demos, and as is the normal way, we're going to have 5 minutes for demo and 5 minutes Q&A. Would you just like to introduce yourselves? So Kane first, then Helen, then Nate, the same order we're going to give the demos later. So who are you and what are you working
Super.
on?
Yeah. Hi, guys. My name's Kane, and I'm the founder of Cargo Systems.
Hi
Thanks,
everyone,
Kane.
my name's Helen Conway and I'm the founder of Pat the Pulog.
Hey, I'm Nate. I'm the founder of For Every Mind, and we are building the next generation of UX.
Thanks, buddy. And of course, I'm joined here by Pedro Guimarães from Canopy and Lisbon. Who are you, Pedro? Tell everybody.
Well, as you said, I'm from Canopy in Lisbon, and I work with startups trying to help pave their ways. But it's up to them to assess how successful I am. And I work in change management with established companies, which is another way of trying to, move them to the next stage, which is something that I love doing.
Okay, fantastic. So, Kane, you're going to be first today, right? 5 minutes to demo, 5 minutes to Q&A. And if you want to do your screen share, and I'll just drop that into the main view as well.
Sure. 2 secs. Here we go. How's that? Are we seeing that?
We are seeing that. Over to you, my friend. Good luck.
Amazing. So, yes, hello everyone. My name's Kane, the founder of Cargo Systems. And about 7 years ago, I had a car accident. And what happened at that car accident was that I needed to get a car door from Portsmouth to the Isle of Wight. Having that, you'd think it's quite a simple task, just going on Google and potentially just booking some space on some spare freight with some capacity. And basically, that kind of platform doesn't exist. So, what I ended up having to do was phone all of these logistic companies. And the outcome of that was realizing how fragmented the market was. And when I realized it wasn't just an Isle of Wight problem, my market research actually showed it was a national problem with nearly 30% of these big trucks going empty. It highlighted how the entire country has this fragmented logistical information market. So, the way that we are trying to position ourselves in the market is by allowing access to logistical information for free. And this type of information isn't free for anyone at all, ever. And it's interesting because these logistic companies could benefit from an open source platform like Cargo Systems. And as an example and a bit of storytelling, not too long ago, I ended up going to Venice on a holiday. And when I got off the plane, I typed in the hotel destination, and almost instantly, I had the live data of what bus to catch, where I needed to go to get the bus stop, how many bus stops there were, and where I needed to walk to after getting dropped off. Now, if you flip that and have that for logistics for anyone with any freight needs, it doesn't exist. And there's so many paywalls behind this information that should be accessible. Now, we've been partnering with businesses from logistic companies to software development businesses to networking hubs, all of the things you can imagine that we need to go forward. And we have partnered and sort of have these communications with Catapult, Connected Places Catapult, where they've allowed us to have access to the Freight Innovation Cluster, which alternatively allows us to see the Freight Innovation Fund, which is what the government has put aside to improve the digital infrastructure of the industry. And this is where things are changing. You've got governments realizing that they have this real lack of data, and it means that they can't be able to act and change policy, which is really important when decisions are being made for the future. The other issue that we are seeing sort of become sort of resolved is that there are businesses that are taking away this paywall, and businesses want an accessible platform that is free and open access. And alongside that, you have these operators of these tangible infrastructures, of these lorries, trucks, vans, whatever, that are realizing that it's the better way forward than having this weird, complicated logistics marketplace. And so, to conclude what Cargo is, we are simply an open access platform to live freight data and capacity. My name's Kane, the founder of Cargo Systems. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, it stayed on time. Well done, Kane. Appreciate you for that. And Pedro, what's your first question for Kane?
Kane, I'm a fan of your business, as you know. I think it's relevant to explain what is your business model, how you're going to make money with this.
Of course. Yeah. Well, that comes into what happens with an open free platform. And typically, the way that you would want to make the business viable is by having fees and transactional fees. So we take a fee from completed deliveries from the operators, which is set at 10%. And then afterwards, or beforehand, sorry, you get a £2 transactional fee from anyone using the platform. It's about £1.99. And so that's how we generate our income, and we can expand on features looking forward.
Okay. Second question, then last. Okay.
Mhm.
What do you see as your biggest blockers at the moment? Which are the mountains you have to climb to
Yes.
launch this?
So the biggest barriers really are these logistic companies, because these logistic companies tend to operate on sort of sub 3% profit margins. You have these businesses that try to be lean in everything they do. So going and being a new business and introducing yourselves is if it doesn't integrate into their business almost instantly, they're not interested. They don't have the time and the resources. And so it's the barrier of making sure that what we have is easily integratable for these logistic companies. So the way that we're looking at that is by already integrating into the systems that they already use. So that's one way that we're looking into it. And that comes into like an API. And that's probably the biggest barrier that we have in all of this.
Thank you. Sure.
Why do you like your own idea?
Because for me, we're currently running a trial on the Isle of Wight, and for me, it's the fact that something's there. It's the fact that you don't have to be that business that has to pay £100 a month to access this type of information or marketplace. So knowing that I've already potentially helped someone access this information is why I'm such a big fan, because it isn't just, let's just make loads of money in this business. It's actually helping and expanding communities. And that's whether in rural and urban communities, as well as business communities like logistic operators.
So what sort of traction you got at the moment? How far has this idea gone?
So we are in talks with the Department for Transport at the moment to be integrated into their Transport Data Action Plan, the TDAP, and that is from the government recognising that they have this lack of real data. We are integrated with the Freight Innovation Cluster, which, like I said, allows us to view government funding for the Freight Innovation Fund. We've just partnered with Acclaim Logistics, which are an international logistics company, but also have depots along the South Coast and the Isle of Wight. And we have launched our trial to the Isle of Wight, where we've gained a lot of interest, but we haven't had any conversions. So a lot of people are recognizing this as a potential service, but their needs just aren't there yet that matches with Cargo.
Okay, so what's missing for you? What do you need to help you turn this into something that really moves?
Probably a bit more of a runway financially. I think running any business, you have to kind of look at the books and realize, through the accelerator, the cessation, if I pronounce that right. So I think it is coming up with a bit of a plan to become resilient to those kind of financial pressures. And I think it's also the recognition. I think cargo deserves the fact that we're trying to do something completely different in trying to change the way logistics has been operating for the last few decades.
Okay, so if anybody kind of watching this recording back says, okay, I really like Kanan's idea, I think I'm going to go and help them, what's the one thing you'd ask them to do to help you, like a tangible thing?
Tangible thing, I'm not sure. Probably ask what they think the vulnerabilities are of cargo and why it wouldn't work. I think it's so you can get so quite carried away in your own mind as to where your business is and how amazing it is, but I'd want to know if they can poke any holes in the idea.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Pedro, got anything else before we finish up and move over to Helen?
Yeah, I have a funny question. How do you see this? Do you see this attracting more of existing transportation companies, or creating like alternative revenue streams for companies that have to move things and have their own fleet, but they're moving it empty, or something like that, like creating new opportunities, expanding the market without having to invest in buying new cars or new trucks or new whatever. How do you see this? What is the balance? Do you see this more attractive to the established transportation companies, or companies that actually need to move and are returning empty? So it's just foolish to do that.
Yeah, I think if I heard you right, the mic was a little bit quiet there. Definitely an established sort of business. I think I'm not too sure if I couldn't hear you very well, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Over to you, Helen, for yours. You get your screen share going and I'll drop that onto the stage. Kane, I think you're switching from the laptop now, right? So feel free to go off camera and make that switch. It's all good.
Am I sharing?
You are.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Lovely.
So when you're ready, your 5 minutes starts now.
Okay, so this is Pat the Poo Log. This is going to be a new Christmas tradition. So what we're focusing on is kindness, responsibility, and Christmas magic. So kindness is one of the most important values that we want to raise in our children. But in today's fast-paced, high-pressured world, it's often hard for parents to consistently teach this. Every December, millions of parents are trying to create Christmas magic, but behind the scenes, it often feels like pressure, stress, and one more thing to keep up with, meaning that magic is sometimes lost. This is where Pat the Poo Log comes in. He's a unique blend of teaching kids to be kind and keeping Christmas magic alive. The tradition is child-led, and he comes with daily activity cards of things that Pat wants, teaching children to have responsibility and think about something other than themselves. Pat is an interactive Christmas tradition where children care for him daily throughout December, feeding him, engaging in kindness and responsibility related activity cards, preparing for a magical Christmas Eve moment. What makes Pat different is that the child leads the magic through small daily actions. Children build responsibility and kindness and connection, not because they're told to, but because they actually want to. On Christmas Eve, families come together for a magical performance of tapping, singing, and sprinkling magic. On Christmas morning, Pat rewards them by pooing out small gifts as a thank you and positive reinforcement of the child's kind actions. It's not just a toy, it's a family tradition, making memories and teaching and shaping our children. He comes with a storybook as a guide on how to use him. He'll also have a musical ridge along his back to be inclusive of SEND children. The Christmas magic that will wake up, the Christmas Eve ritual will wake up the magic. So they will use the storybook as a guide to sing a song, tap him on his back and sprinkle the magic. And then this wakes up the magic. he doesn't actually poo anything. It's just that the parents will place small gifts underneath Pat's blanket, and this is where the imagination of that he has pooed out small gifts as a thank you. So why me for this company? So I have a professional and personal experience in this. My background is in psychology, speech and language therapy, and paediatric nursing. So I have a deep understanding of child development and what engages children. My plans for Pat don't just stop at Christmas, but can also be for birthdays, Easter, Diwali, Eid. And this was actually suggested by one of my focus group moms who actually really loved Pat and was willing to sign up for him. Being a mom of 7, I've definitely lived the pressures of Christmas and built traditions within my own family. This idea has been with me for 6 years, and I've stayed committed because I believe that the positive impact that this can have on children. This isn't just a product building, it's something that I believe families genuinely need. He's created to help children feel responsible and valued and connected through these small daily actions. Pat might ask them to hold the door open for somebody. He might ask them to tell someone that they look nice, tell a stranger that it's all going to be okay, draw a lovely picture for their neighbour. Just little kindness things that get lost in translation in this day and age. I feel that kindness is something that is lacking in today's generation of children, and it's something that could be established a bit more, especially when they're young. I'd also, being a student nurse, I'd also like to, if Pat became big and was making lots of money, I would also like to donate to schools, hospices, hospitals, giving back to those children that might not necessarily always have a great Christmas or birthday or anything that they celebrate, or giving out these Pat the Poo logs to a children's ward so that they can experience the fun when they're in a bit of a tough time if they're in hospital. So why now? I've already seen strong early validation with over 100 parents showing clear interest. I've built a waiting list of 56 families with 0 paid marketing. And at the same time, I've seen that the demand for easier Christmas magic, like Elf on the Shelf alternatives, is growing year on year. It's clear that parents still want the magic at Christmas, but they want it to feel easier on them and more meaningful. This is going to be a tradition that raises kinder children, which, in effect is a butterfly effect, really, in that what goes around comes around, and we need more children to grow up into kind adults. My ask is £100,000 to invest to launch before December, to fund. I have a prototype already, but he needs refining, safety testing, initial manufacturing running, branding, packaging, the storybook production. I have an illustrator that she's working with me with the book illustration, but that also needs producing and obviously early marketing and launch campaigning in return for a portion of the business. And I really would like to work with someone that would be as passionate as me about my business and the opportunity to build the next iconic Christmas tradition. So I'm looking for the right partner to help bring Pat into people's homes and last for generations to come. And that's it.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. Pedro, what's your question?
I have 2 questions and a suggestion, but eventually I'll get there. First question, Ellen, I love Pat, by the way. Ellen,
Thank you.
How do you plan to sell it? Bricks and mortar shops, online, a mix? How do you plan to sell
Both.
this?
Both.
Yeah, so we're going to start. Where are you going to start first? Because it's different roads.
Yeah. So probably online at first, like Etsy, Shopify. But then, you know, in the future, I'd like to establish relationships with, you know, toy companies, Entertainer, Smiths, even like supermarkets, that, you know, anywhere that sells Christmas, birthday, toys, traditions.
Okay, cool. So you're gonna need someone with experience on dealing with retailers, but
Yeah.
that's good news. That's not hard to find. The second question is, how do you see any role for partnerships on building and developing your product, of partnerships of any kind?
As in manufacturers or as in retailers, like branding?
And as in people to get you bigger and better outreach, or whatever other areas that you could leverage by having
Yeah, so possibly like influencers, like people that have a large platform of, you know, specifically like moms that follow people, like, for example, Molly May, who's, you know, has a huge platform of people that follow her, with that, you know, pretty much mostly young people that have young families, and or Stacey Solomon, or you know, there's a wide variety of influencers that do actually influence good things and not just makeup and hair. And, you know, it's they would have a big platform that would be very influential, and there would be the mindset of, well, if Molly May's got it, I want it.
Yeah, sadly, that's a bit expensive. I suggest you think about doing things with schools, primary schools. And the second tip was, this was the original tip. I think you should consider on the latest stage, well, not that late, IP related stuff, because it's a great concept, and maybe there's some IP opportunities somewhere. Okay, but that's a very specific thing for a call like this. Anyway, I hope to see Pet the Pooh on shelves next Christmas.
Thanks, Pedro.
Thank
And
you.
I'm going to drop over to Nate in a sec to see what questions he's got for Helen. But my first one for you, Helen, what does it take to get from the point you're at now to 100 of these in people's hands?
So first of all is money. I need funds to get this up and running. Like I said, it's going to cost to get production, safety testing, and making sure that it's, you know, the right product, and that it's the finished product is good enough to sell, and marketing.
Okay. And in terms of your team, obviously you're a solo founder, right? So what do you feel like you need? Do you feel you have everything you need, or do you feel that you need other people to bring to you now at this point? Do you need co-founders? Do you need advisors? Do you need employees? What does it take to actually do all of this stuff?
Yeah, I'd probably need. I mean, it's a family business. I am a solo founder, but it is family. So my partner made me the original prototype years ago. He's kind of like the product development person, and I use my kids for ideas as well. But I do need advice with things like in the business world and manufacturing, and like I said, I've got an illustrator, but I need the book publishing. But I could self-publish, which is something that I'm looking into. But I do need someone with, like Pedro said, with good relationships with retailers.
Okay, and just before I hand over to Nate for his question, when you were doing the focus groups and stuff, what was the number one thing that parents were telling you was why they liked this idea?
Not to slate Elf on the Shelf because it has its place, but a lot of people were saying that it would just be nice to not have the responsibility of Elf on the Shelf. It would be nice to have an alternative. And a lot of the parents really liked the kindness aspect of it as well.
Okay, fantastic. Nate, what do you think about this? It's very different to your idea. What's your curious question?
Is a very different idea. Going a little bit off what Pedro has said, do you have a plan for a bus plan, as it's often called, for in an event that you, as a solo founder, cannot even temporarily continue with a business? If an investor approached you and they said, how would you deal with that aspect? If I give you this money and you can't work on this for 4 months, how have you got a structure in place that can deal with that fact?
That's a very good question. Honestly, it's not something I've thought about, but maybe it's something that I should think about in terms of bringing in a co-founder or someone that is like someone that almost as an employee for that role to take on as being like a secondary to me.
Interesting. In myself, I have a table of advisors that have an edict in the event that I can't continue, that they either vote one of themselves or they find a replacement to replace myself in that event, of temporarily or permanently. So there's lots of different ways you can do it, but it's something that I've been asked a couple of times by potential investors, and both investing in, as in a company, the enterprise company coming in and saying, if we invest our money as purchasing your product, how do we know that you as a solo founder will be able to continue to deliver? And both also with the advisor sense as well.
That's really good. Something to think about. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Helen. All right, Nate, over to you, my friend, for your 5-minute demos. Let's see if we can make that screen share work. That was giving us so much trauma earlier.
Yes, trauma of screen shares. One moment for you.
Look at that. There we go.
Okay. Lovely stuff. Right. So, hello, I am Nate, the founder of For Every Mind. And we're going to talk about something that we've all been through, that feeling where a piece of software seems like it's actually fighting against you. And at For Every Mind, we're building a really cool new technology that's trying to change all that, to build digital experiences that don't just work, but that actually get to know us and adapt to us. So, you know that feeling where you are staring at a form that's way too complicated, or the text is just a little too hard to read, and your brain just starts to short circuit? You're just trying to get something done, but the app itself is the biggest hurdle. It's such a common frustration, and you end up a captive rather than being productive. Software always seems to assume that everyone's brain works in the same way. Yet, 20% of the global population are neurodivergent, like myself. And even so, the accessibility regulations that we have, such as WCAG, exclude the other 80%. So even in the way that we create inclusion, we're actually creating exclusion for the wider population as well. All of these things aggregate into an amount of confusion, overload, and the biggest problem is abandonment for companies. In fact, over 50% of all users, whether they're neurodivergent or neurotypical, abandon an app due to frustration at least once every 2 to 3 weeks. And that rate is 3 times higher for people that are neurodivergent. From our surveys across over 1,000 people, we've also discovered that over 75% of them would rather have a application or website that adapts to who they are, how they think, rather than just having the blanket one size fits all. So as I've mentioned before, I myself am neurodivergent. I diagnosed autism and ADHD. And for me, even though things are more exacerbated, it is a situation for quite a lot of people where they find that things don't work for them. And through my master's, I studied human computer interaction. We researched how there is a massive problem in the way that we design everything we are using every day as we become more digital. And through this, we managed to approach the different goals for the UN impact, whether that's good health or reducing inequalities and climate action due to improving efficiency. And I'm not alone with all this. I have an amazing founding table of team who span all the different parts of our business, everything from AI to legal to psychology. And together we are building what we hope to be the next generation of user experience and AI. So the biggest thing is people ask is, why hasn't this happened already? One of the big problems is only recently have we had the technology that allows us to do this quickly. Realistically, we need to be able to adapt something so fast that the user doesn't know it's happened and it just works better for them. And it's only been the last couple of years that technology in the cloud has allowed us to do that. Additionally, neurodivergent awareness and accessibility awareness is exceeding most people's predictions. And you've probably seen in the news, and a lot of information is coming out about how there are more neurodivergent people than we first realized. And in response to this, a lot of governments are producing accessibility regulations for this. This is a first mover, first advantage, first to the post, whatever analogy you would like to use, to get there before anyone else. We do have some of our own prior art, and we have a patent that can be put forward. So on that note, we are looking to develop this further with pilot customers, some people in industry, and of course, to extend our runway, looking for 375,000 in investment. Thank you. I'm Nate, and this is For Every Mind.
Well done, Nate. Fantastic. I think first question, if it's okay, go over to you, Helen.
If you can you go back to the other slide where it said you're in talks with ITVX and Ralph Lauren? I'd like to know more about that.
Yep. So ITVX is one of our first major enterprise talks. The reason being we targeted them was because they have over 80% of the adult population have an ITVX account, and they have a wealth of different interface data, because they have to create an experience for everyone that's using a mobile phone to a widescreen TV. So for us, it was really important to jump in the deep end, with our first client being someone who essentially is going to challenge us to build a better product. And we are in our second stage talks about doing a small test with some of their systems. But as I say, it's quite complicated, but we like the challenge.
Yeah, that's amazing. As someone that's a bit neurospicy myself, I kind of like that.
Yeah, everyone's got a bit of spice.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm in my own bubble, but I don't actually know anybody who's neurotypical at this point. So
that's an
I don't think we would be here if you weren't.
No, most founders are a little bit spicy, statistically speaking. And there's a key point there, Stuart, is that we always create these accessibility rules for the 20%, but realistically, everyone thinks differently, whether you're neurospicy or just the generational differences. So we need to build user experiences that meet people where they are, rather than the users having to meet the interface where it is.
Interesting. It's a bit like education. You know, education used to be, I stand here and I tell you stuff until you finally get it, versus I'm going to try and find the knowledge over in a way, or deliver it to you in a way that you take it on and actually feed the customer, if you like. Pedro, your question, my friend. What do you want to ask Nate?
Well, I think we don't have enough time, but anyway, I'll have to handpick some. Nate, I'd like you to invite you to explain in very, like a five-year kid, what exactly what the system does. Is it like a piece of software with an API that I connect to any of my pieces of software, my web page, my e-commerce, whatever, and that detects my reactions, the user's reactions, and adjusts automatically the user interface?
Pretty much. So our software is a very light layer that you put inside pre-existing or new builds, whether it's a website or an app. It detects in the same way that Google Analytics or other analytics software, it detects how a user is interacting with that software or app. And the other key thing is how well are they achieving the defined user journeys, i.e., are they checking out successfully? Are they completing their tasks on a task app successfully, etc.? And essentially, it uses that as a secondary metric to not only understand from their interaction how their brain works, but also how their brain works and are they achieving those goals. When a developer integrates this software, they're presented with a dashboard which allows them to create at least 8 variations of their primary user interface. Our system is then automatically detecting which one it needs to serve to each of the different people's minds, so depending on how their mind works. And then it verifies that is indeed working by showing improvement in the user journeys. The biggest problem we have with the biggest problem that developers have with accessibility at the moment is it's open loop, meaning that they don't know whether what they've done for accessibility has actually worked. We can close that loop with our system and ensure that they can see whether what they're doing is actually improving engagement and improving productivity, so that, as I said before, we're not keeping users captives. We are actually allowing them to be more productive.
Okay, so if I had to explain as a layman, I would say this is the next generation of what used to be things like Google Analytics, but in real time, providing solutions, not just identifying pathways that made human beings create or adjust or whatever. Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to give you a magic wand, and you are entitled to one wish, and it will come true.
Pedro is your fairy godmother. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, he's everyone's. We love him.
You're too kind. Thank you so much. It's gonna turn to reality. Yeah, but it's the thing that's gonna change the life of this project. So it's gonna, by on a click, it's gonna make it work. It's gonna put you on the place you want to be. What is your wish? I can give you 3 seconds.
At this very point, I would like to improve the reliability of our current AI model so that it would, if I can have any wish, I'd love it to be 100% accurate. At the minute, it varies between 65 to 75%. So that would be my one magic wish. Obviously, we're working on that and we have a lot of research that we're working with some universities on. But if I could just get that sorted right now and have that, so we have that in the bag, that would be my one wish.
If I put chip in with a simple question, are you doing or considering working with specialized organizations that deal with that? Not just academia. Okay, I'm talking about other organizations that deal with the type of different approaches that different people have. And I agree with the thesis. The other 80%. Roughly 6.5 billion people don't act the same way. You can find 2 at the same way. But are you working with organized or formal institutions that are in any way, so you can have more knowledge feeding your... Okay.
We are indeed. So we are working with a Swiss research institute that works themselves with the Swiss government. working on the more on the captivity side because of the direction in which applications are going now. But we are looking at some new research with them and going on board for a Horizon grant this October to see if we can partner and hopefully change the way that people think about this industry so that we're not left in this negative feedback loop system that we seem to live in with apps and websites today.
Because I see, final comment, I see a huge opportunity after you deal with and I agree you should have a focus and that's big enough, 20%.
Mm-hmm.
But I see a lot of great opportunities for the other 80%.
Oh yes, so that is our first focus, because the honesty behind the 20% is that spicy people, when you're looking at the metrics, are statistically easier to see as an outlier in the data. So when we look at it, they're easier for us to identify and easier for us to work with to begin with. However, going forward, we are our horizon is to allow us to accommodate the entire population, 100%. And the other aspect is that this is just the first hurdle. We have human interaction with robotics coming in our future and other autonomous things that don't understand us and are going to have different types of accessibility that governments aren't ready for, and we want to be ready for that.
Congratulations, awesome, thank you.
All right, fantastic, and relax. There you go, just chill. So we get to this point where I get to ask my favorite question, which is to each of you. And Kane, I don't know if you can come back on to the call audio-wise, whatever. There you go. So for each
I'm
of you,
here.
starting with Kane, then over to Helen, and then to Nate. Who has been your favorite demo today that wasn't you? Okay, so I want you to picture there's a burning building. The other two are in the building. Which one are you going to go and rescue? Okay, so Kane, who has been your favorite demo that wasn't you?
What, the favorite demo day in general?
No, the favorite demo of Nate and Helen, basically, that wasn't you.
I really like Nate's, but that's because I know a few people that have neurodiverse sort of issues, and they do have the same complaints with what Nate is trying to solve. So I'm gonna have to go with Nate's idea.
Okay, fantastic. Helen, what about you? Who's been your favorite that wasn't you?
It is a really hard question because I did really like both. I think both was presented really well. Both ideas are really useful and really good. But I think I'd probably lean more towards Nate's as well.
The crown is Nate's. The crown is Nate's.
But Nate, who was your favorite that wasn't you?
Ah, damn, this is a really hard question because I love both too. Because I've worked in needing the logistics side of things, and I have a million nieces and nephews that are wily, shall I say. So I have to like eeny, meeny, miny, mo, because I'm going to go.
Either or, only one of us is going to get one vote, Nate.
Yeah, I know, but it's still every vote counts. All right, so no. I'm sorry, Kane. I'm going for Helen.
No, I love it. I love it.
Very good. There's room in the world for everybody, right? But it's always interesting to ask.
Yeah, just not today. Yeah.
And we do frame it as favorite as well, rather than saying what's the most investable or what's the best, or what's been your favorite. It's completely subjective as the choice. What about you, Pedro? What's been your favorite demo out of the three of them today?
Honestly, I was praying that they could solve it for me because I was suffering here to select one. I prefer to say differently. I think Ellen presented from the heart, which is amazing, and I love the idea and the reason why she's doing it, and I truly believe in what she's trying to do. Okay, Kane, I should have started by Ken. Sorry for the sequence. Kane is dealing with a real problem, and it's a huge opportunity. I see a great opportunity for that business. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I see it's a great opportunity. And Nate is almost like a mix of both, because it's coming from the heart. It's dealing with a real problem. It is almost endless, the use cases, and what the best for me is having the opportunity to know these three incredible founders and be part of the journey on a very tiny portion. But be inspired by you. This is amazing. Thank you so much.
Now, Pedro, you know I love you, but you haven't actually said which is your favorite.
Sneaky.
because I think Nate can improve the way it explained his idea. Okay. I think that I'll go for Ellen because I think she, by a tiny bit, explained better idea than Kane. I think there's a few things you should chip in, and since we are not to assess your ability to pitch and not your ideas, because even so I love them all and I have to select one, I would go for Ellen. But on any other day I would choose any other of you, honestly, because I think there are three amazing. I always put a question: does this thing deserve to exist? And the answer for me is yes, yes, and yes.
Thank you.
Look at that. How cool is that? Interesting choice, though. Trying to make a people's choice vote out of this little trio today, right?
We're so different, but all needed.
Absolutely. Well, I think on the grounds that all of us definitely 100% need your solution, Nate, as we're all a little bit spicy on the score, maybe we better go with that one, right?
Yeah. Thank you so
Fantastic.
much. I also appreciate the feedback, Pedro, on, yes, I struggle with delivery of things for sure. But yeah, something I'm working on. But it's also part of our spiciness. We all have our own little fun quirks.
And can you imagine what Helen's presentation would be like had she slept and not been on night shift yesterday, right? Because she's already here with
boss.
I'd have been on fire.
Yeah.
And this goes to Alan and Ken also, of course. If you need a mirror to practice, I can be a great mirror. I have the exact size, so just reach me if you want to. I'll be more than happy to do so.
Thank you.
That'd be much appreciated.
All right, fantastic. Well, look, we're going to turn this into a blog article in a moment, and you'll see that go up this afternoon, sort of telling everybody about your ideas and what you've been talking about today. But thank you so much for being part of the demo today, the special one-off event for the UniDays Accelerator cohort. And congratulations to all of you. I look forward to seeing what you do next with the ideas, and let's see it in people's hands and seeing some users and seeing some investment. That'd be amazing. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
See you later.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.